The world fell into silence the day an alien creature invaded and devastated the cities. This sound-sensitive creature is incredibly fast at pursuing its prey. Amid the chaos, Samira manages to protect herself and assist a cowardly individual who constantly chases her out of fear. The movie delves into themes of terror, trauma, and tragedy. Set in New York City, where the average sound level is about 90 decibels, it brings a tragedy to the city's residents they had never anticipated. Samira is attending a session in a hospital room with other patients. Nurse Ruben asks her to share her thoughts about her environment. She begins reading from her notes, which describe the place as trashy and the people as absurd, expressing her dislike for everything. Seeing Ruben's discomfort, she stops reading. At the end of the session, Ruben chastises her for her harsh comments and suggests she be less rude. To help improve her behavior, he offers to take her on a trip around the city on the hospital bus. The bus is set to leave in half an hour, and he insists that she go, believing it will change her perspective. Samira reluctantly agrees on the condition that they stop for pizza. Ruben agrees, and Samira heads to her room to change clothes, accompanied by her service cat. The sharp alarms keep blaring, indicating an emergency in the hospital. She fetches her iPad from her room, changes her clothes, and replaces the patch on her waist. The bus starts its journey towards the city, taking Samira and other patients. It's been a long time since she's been in the city. She looks around happily towards everything. The bus stops at Marionette Theater. As they wait for the puppet show to start, a little boy watches her cat with so much affection. Soon the show begins, and an older man displays a puppet boy with a balloon in his hand. The puppet boy inflates the balloon and flies himself in the air. But suddenly the balloon pops, and he falls. That sight disturbs Samira, and she immediately comes out of the theater and enters a grocery shop. The shopkeeper denies entry to her cat into the shop, but she gets the required things, telling her that she can't leave a service cat out. As she leaves the store, she finds Ruben calling to see her. The city has an emergency, and they must return to the hospital immediately, which means they can't eat pizza now. Samira gets so furious, as that was the only attraction that brought her to visit the city. But after a heated argument with Ruben, knowing that they are not getting pizza, she sits on the bus. Angrily, she turns on the iPad and does not listen to the sharp sound of emergency alarms. Suddenly, the bus stops and she notices everybody looking at something in the sky. Its number of stars seems to be falling on the earth. Suddenly, as a result of a heavy blast, she loses her sight and cannot hear anything for a while. She could not see anything around her in the dust after getting up. Hence, she tries to find her way in the dust, and a man shouts out of agony. At the same time, an unknown creature picks him up. Another woman screams in fear, and within a fraction of a second, the creature picks her up and eats her too. Samira hides behind a car, but knowing it is not safe, she walks ahead, but then falls as the car sets on fire. After a while, she regains consciousness and coughs. But a man puts his hand on her mouth to shut her voice. She calms down, understanding the situation. Several people are sitting in the hall. She looks around and finds Ruben seated at his side. He hugs her and returns her cat. She hugs her cat as it's her only important possession. Suddenly, they hear the sound of a helicopter and heavy objects flying in the sky above them, resulting in a blast. Samira runs to save her life aside, but steps on a glass. This alerts the creature. The bell in the cat's neck sounds, and the creature immediately breaks the door and enters. The beast, susceptible to the sounds, comes near Ruben and can sense his presence, but can't exactly see him. He keeps and holds silently, holding his breath. The sound-sensitive creature does not seem to be good at seeing things. Once again, the series of blasts outside the theater begins. After a while, Samira goes silently to the washroom to wash her face from the dust. Returning towards the hall, she watches someone silently taking notes of shelter places to hide from the creatures. It was written that they must get off the bridges to save themselves. Once again, the beast attacks the building, and Samira runs outside towards the roof. The whole city is burning down, and high-speed jets are dropping explosives to destroy the buildings and bridges quickly. Suddenly, a man calls them from behind. Despite trying to silence him, he does not stop, as he fears the situation immensely. Hence, Henry stabs him in the head, and he falls unconscious. That night, Samira finds a writing pad and tells Ruben she's about to go to Harlem. She hopes that she will find her pizza there. That brings a smile to their faces. But suddenly, the light turns off and starts to generate her automatically, creating a heavy sound. Knowing that the creature will respond to the sound and attack the building, Ruben turns off the generator. But as the generator turns off, an object in his hand makes a heavy sound, alerting the creature standing behind Ruben. It attacks him and finishes him at the exact moment. Samira held her hands on her mouth tightly as she wanted to cry, but could not for fear of losing her life. Afterward, knowing this place is no longer safe, she steps out of the building. The streets, buildings, and vehicles have all become ruins. She enters the nearby grocery store, grabs some necessary food items, puts them in a tote bag, and starts moving ahead. Sitting closer to a fountain, she opens the food can as it's the only way to neutralize the sound of opening it for her cat. Suddenly, she looks at two kids staring at her from behind the water, and it seems they are hungry. She brings them out and gives them food, and simultaneously the announcement about the safe shelter place from the alien creature begins. She asks the kids to follow her silently and hides under a roof. After the silence persists and Samira is sure that aliens are not near, she comes out with the kids. To her amazement, many people emerge from their hideouts and walk toward the shelter. She uses the eye gesture to tell the kids to go where these people are going. Afterwards, Samira starts walking in the opposite direction, but she notices that people are carrying heavy suitcases and making sounds unknowingly, which will soon alert the alien creature. Hence, in the next moment, numerous aliens attack out of nowhere. To save herself, Samira hides under a car where a man begins shouting to help him. The creature hears his voice and kills him. Samira hardly pulls herself from under the car and looks around, terrified people who speak a word and aliens eat them all. She hides near a garbage bin. On the other hand, her cat finds a man who saves himself from drowning. Cat signals him to follow and guides him to where Samira is hiding. She is so happy to reunite with the cat, but guides the man to keep moving. The man follows her like he cannot understand anything. Soon after heavy rain, they stand under a shelter where Samira asks his name. It is Eric, and Samira guides her to the shelter and insists he stop following her. He tries to move away but cannot do so. Hence, Samira asked him to follow her and they entered a residential building to spend the night. Eric hits the door in the noise of a thunderstorm. The sound of breaking the door lock blends in with the sound of the thunderstorm. Eric has no family here, and his parents live in England. Samira wants him to get near the water, take a boat, and leave the city. At the same time, she will get the pizza on her way out of there. She shows him the picture of her dad, who used to play piano. They talk about each other's lives, and suddenly, Samira shouts out of extreme rage. They both shout to hear her sound loudly at least once before they die. The following day, Samira wakes up first and leaves the apartment without waking Eric, as she wants to go without him chasing her. After a while sitting near a set of soap books in the rain, she senses that Eric has once again found her. It annoys her, but she gives her the notebook, pretending he searched for her to return it. As she tries to get up, a bunch of books falls, alerting the alien creature. They run inside a building, but as Eric opens the door, an organizer stuck in the door falls, and aliens attack that building. They chase them while Eric throws rocks at cars to start the car alarms, which divert their attention. They enter a subway, but as they reach the other end, a huge alien is stepping down the stairs. Seeing no other way to survive, Samira and Eric silently put their bodies inside the water and begin walking ahead with utter discretion. They keep moving ahead while the alien stands above, clinging to the roof. Eric is losing his calm, but Samira tries to silence him by holding her hand on his mouth. Suddenly, the alien hears his heavy-breathing voice and chases them into the water. They hardly float towards the other side, while the creature drowns in the water, chasing them. Eric helps Samira get out of the water, and they hide inside a church. Samira needs her transdermal patch and she is vomiting. Eric asks her about the names of the medicines and goes out to look for the pharmacy nearby. The pharmacy is dark and abandoned. Hence, he discreetly picks a torch to search for the medicine. In the meantime, the cat follows him. On their way back, the cat chases a rat, and amid rubbles, it sticks to a high pillar. Eric can't go back without taking her, while once again the giant alien walks past him. He somehow reaches the pillar while aliens feed themselves beside him. He makes no sound when an alien looks at him. The alien can't see anything, using only its hearing sense to chase the target. Alien goes away and he gets the cat and returns to Samira. Eric puts the patch on her waist, which puts her pain at ease. That night, Samira shared that her father used to get her to a jazz club to hear the piano. She loved that time. She used to get pizza afterward, but her father soon died. She is so hopeless about her life that she suspects she is dying. Eric promises that he will get her a pizza. The following day, Samira wears sneakers and walks past Eric out of the church on the city streets. They look for the pizza shops around the city, but every place is ruined and burned down. Watching the destruction, she sits on the street in despair and Eric hugs her. They reach a nearby club with the music instruments and Samira plugs her iPad into the stereo system. Unable to play the piano for fear of aliens, she runs her fingers along the keyboard. On the other hand, Eric finds and brings a pizza while she sips the whiskey in the club. She gets so happy to see her wish come true and eats joyously. Eric pours the whiskey while he still remembers her. Another wish is to enjoy jazz music. Unable to play the sound, he invites her on the stage as they finish the pizza and plays the trick he knows. He picks a card deck and asks her to pick a card. She picks one, and surprisingly, of all the cards, the other one she picks is the same as the first one. It gives her immense happiness, and they pretend to perform this in front of a whole audience. Hence, they bow down in front of their imaginary audience and leave the club. As planned, Eric has to take the ship to reach his homeland. Hence, with tears in her eyes, Samara immediately gives him her beloved cardigan, which Eric wears. The boat is about to leave the city's waters, and they need to hurry. They carefully cross the streets, counting each step to avoid making any noise, but a broken car blocks their way. The aliens are patrolling the roads near the water, searching for their next target. The terrifying sight of the aliens makes it clear that if Eric moves ahead, he will become their prey and disappear instantly. Overwhelmed with fear, Eric hesitates, but Samara urges him to find the courage to leave the devastated city and reunite with his parents. To help him gain his courage, Samara gives her cat to Eric, though he doesn't realize her true intention. She sacrifices her safety to protect Eric from becoming the alien's target. Turning around, she grabs a metal rod and starts banging it against a car window, setting off the security alarm. She continues to hit the windows of nearby cars, creating a commotion that draws the alien's attention. As she runs, the noise also alerts the men on the boat. Seeing Eric heading toward them, they signal to stop the boat. Eric crashes into a metal piece while rushing to the water, and the alien creature begins to pursue him. He manages to leap into the water just before the creature reaches him. The alien then retreats. Samara, with tears in her eyes, watches as Eric swims away with her cat. Eric finally boards the boat and reunites with other passengers, who assure him he is safe. Meanwhile, Samara sits alone in a broken building, looking at a picture of her late beloved father. The picture shows him wearing the same cardigan that now serves as a lucky charm for Eric. As she weeps, the movie ends.